Picture a new mother returning home from the hospital late at night after being diagnosed with a minor ailment. The following day, the woman inexplicably vanishes, marking just the beginning of a series of unsettling events unfolding over the next few days. Regrettably, despite the passage of 29 years, the mystery remains unsolved, eluding any progress towards resolution. The backstory. Born on July 4, 1965, in Girard, Ohio, Charlotte Pollis grew up in a large and warmly affectionate family. Being the eldest among 6 siblings, she shouldered the responsibility of looking after her younger brothers and sisters. Charlotte had a natural inclination towards caring for children, often stepping in for her mother even during her teenage years when the need arose. Unsurprisingly, her siblings regarded her as a remarkably kind person with a generous heart. In 1985, Charlotte crossed paths with Paul Pollis through a mutual friend. A year later, they tied the knot, welcoming 2 children into their lives, a daughter named Layla and a son named Aiden. Despite reservations from Charlotte's family, who viewed Paul as somewhat authoritative, there was little cause for concern as Charlotte appeared content. However, this changed in March 1994. Illness. On the evening of Friday, March 11, 1994, at the age of 29, Charlotte began to feel unwell. She had initially planned to attend her brother Ollie's birthday party on Saturday, but feeling under the weather, she called Ollie's wife around noon to explain that she would be staying home. Throughout the day, Charlotte experienced discomfort, primarily due to persistent dizziness. Despite feeling generally fine, the persistent lightheadedness prompted concern. In the evening, when her husband returned from work, he urged Charlotte to seek medical attention. Paul arranged for his mother to look after their children and accompanied Charlotte to the emergency room. There, she was diagnosed with an inner ear infection, received medication, and was discharged. Returning home around 2:30 in the morning, Charlotte reassured her mother over the phone that she was fine and was heading to bed. Little did they know it would be their final conversation. Unanswered calls. The following morning, around 8:30 a.m., Charlotte's mother attempted to reach her daughter to check on her well-being, a routine habit given their close relationship. Paul, Charlotte's husband, answered the call, informing her that Charlotte was still asleep. He assured her that he would have Charlotte return the call once she woke up. However, as the day progressed, Charlotte's mother received no communication from her daughter despite multiple attempts, including calls at lunchtime and throughout the afternoon. The lack of response raised concerns as someone from the household, either Paul or the children, could have answered the phone. Fearing that no one was home, Charlotte's mother even reached out to Charlotte's aunt, who lived nearby, requesting her to check on Charlotte. When the aunt arrived at the house around 3:30 p.m. and knocked on the door, there was no response. The situation took a more alarming turn around 7:30 p.m. when Paul unexpectedly called his mother-in-law, inquiring about Charlotte's whereabouts. Paul's version. On March 12, Paul recounted waking up around 8 a.m. and finding Charlotte still in bed. Upon receiving the call from his mother-in-law, he entered the bedroom to discover his wife sitting immobile on the bed. Concerned about Charlotte's well-being, Paul urged her to contact her mother and advised her to rest due to her visibly pale appearance. However, Charlotte remained silent, simply lying down and appearing to drift into sleep. Paul proceeded to attend to the children, feeding and playing with them until approximately 11 a.m. He then prepared to go to the store and run errands. Noting that Charlotte was still asleep, he took the children along, returning around 4 p.m. Paul's itinerary. Nevertheless, when Charlotte's mother listened to her son-in-law's account of the events, suspicion immediately crept in. She asserted that she had dialed their home between 10:30 and 11 a.m., a period when Paul claimed to be present, yet no one picked up. In response, Paul claimed that he couldn't recall the exact time due to a busy schedule. He purportedly made several stops that day, including a junkyard, a laundromat, a pharmacy, a fast food restaurant, a convenience store, and even spent about an hour driving around town, scouting houses as the couple was considering a move. Upon returning home and checking the bedroom, Paul discovered Charlotte was nowhere to be found. Her purse and ear medication remained on the nightstand. Given that the couple shared a single car, Paul initially assumed Charlotte hadn't gone too far. However, as 2 and then 3 hours elapsed without her return, he grew increasingly concerned, prompting him to reach out to relatives. Oddities in the disappearance. Ali remembered feeling perplexed when Paul called him, expressing concern about Charlotte's whereabouts after just a few hours of her being away from home. Despite finding the husband's worry unusual, Ali, along with other relatives of Charlotte, decided to converge at the Pollis' residence. Upon their arrival, Paul's parents were already present. Interestingly, neighbors later recounted that Paul's father and mother's car had remained parked there throughout the entire night. Adding to the peculiarities, Charlotte's relatives observed that the house had recently undergone an extensive cleaning, leaving not a trace of dust anywhere. As they convened in the living room to discuss the circumstances surrounding Charlotte's disappearance and strategize the search, Paul's father, who served as the deputy coroner of Trumbull County at the time, attempted to reassure them, urging caution not to rush to conclusions and suggesting waiting a day or two. Footprints in the snow. Nevertheless, Charlotte's siblings opted to explore the neighborhood. While the family canvassed the area, one of Charlotte's sisters noticed a small shed behind the Pollis' house. With some snow on the ground, it revealed 2 sets of footprints leading to and from the barn. The sister also observed that the padlocked barn doors seemed noticeably bulged. When she inquired with Paul about the keys to examine it, he claimed to have misplaced them. Regrettably, she kept this information from her siblings until the following day. On March 13, Ali arrived with a crowbar and forcibly opened the door. However, by that time, the path to the shed had been cleared, and there was nothing protruding from it. If anything happens to me. On that very day, March 13, the police were summoned. Charlotte's family observed with astonishment as Paul's father adeptly interacted with the officers, navigating the situation with ease due to his familiarity with them from his profession. Remarkably, what he conveyed aligned precisely with what the officers documented. Subsequent to this encounter, Charlotte's siblings grew even more wary of Paul. Additionally, they began to recollect instances of his occasional rudeness towards his wife, coupled with Charlotte dropping hints several times about contemplating leaving him. In hindsight, Ali recalled another peculiar incident. Approximately a month before Charlotte's disappearance, she reached out to him, urging him to visit for a crucial discussion. Upon his arrival, he immediately sensed her unease. Ensuring Paul couldn't overhear, she posed a poignant question to her brother. "If anything happens to me, will you take care of my children?" Paul's alibi. Further deepening the unease was Paul's alibi for March 12. Despite naming 5 locations where he claimed to be with his children from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., the children either reported not seeing Paul at all or noted that he entered these places alone. At the pharmacy, for instance, Paul entered solo, leaving Charlotte's prescription behind, assuring he would return later, though he never did. The landfill he purportedly visited was closed on that particular day. Similarly, he was not spotted at the laundromat on March 12, although he did appear there the following morning, carrying a blanket with red stains, as reported by a relative of Ali's wife who worked there. A neighbor of the couple mentioned seeing Paul around 4 p.m. on March 12, unloading boxes after driving up to the house. Although the car was brimming with boxes, no children were present. Adding to the growing list of peculiarities, 3 weeks post Charlotte's disappearance, Paul organized a yard sale where he sold nearly all of his missing wife's belongings. Escape. As the police gradually delved into the investigation of Charlotte's disappearance, they repeatedly proposed that Paul undergo a lie detector test. However, he consistently evaded the suggestion, citing issues with his car. When Ali offered to drive him to the police for the polygraph test, surprisingly, Paul agreed. Yet, on the scheduled day for the polygraph examination, Paul vanished, leaving behind a note explaining that he was struggling to cope with life without his wife, and finding it challenging to accept her decision to leave him. He declared a need for a break. For the next 3 months, Paul's whereabouts remained unknown, as he was absent from Girard. However, upon his unexpected return, he was promptly arrested and charged with obstructing an investigation. Despite the charges, Pollis' attorney secured his release, asserting his right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Bloodstains. During Paul's absence from town, the police conducted searches of his residence and car. A bloodstain was discovered in the car's trunk, yet subsequent analysis revealed it to be of animal origin. In the hallway of the Pollis' home, traces of blood were detected, but they had been meticulously wiped, rendering the police unable to collect samples for further analysis. Detectives stumbled upon an unexpected find within the house: concealed divorce papers that Charlotte had prepared. This revelation left all of the woman's relatives taken aback, indicating that the situation within the Pollis family might have been more grave than initially understood. The question arose as to whether Paul was aware of these documents. He, for his part, claimed ignorance of their existence. Garbage bags. In the ensuing years, the investigation into Charlotte's disappearance yielded no progress. Following her vanishing, her 7-year-old daughter, Layla, began residing with her grandmother, Charlotte's mother, while her 4-year-old son remained with Paul. Although the young boy seemed oblivious to the circumstances surrounding his mother's disappearance, Layla developed an anxious fear of black garbage bags during this period. Was this an indication that she had witnessed something unsettling? When probed about it, she would only utter, "Daddy and Grandpa made Mommy sick." The inexperienced janitor mistake. Despite the siblings' persistent efforts to bring attention to Charlotte's case, their attempts yielded no results. In 1999, Ali received an unusual phone call. An employee from a cleaning company informed him that while emptying trash cans at the police station, he stumbled upon files related to the missing Charlotte Pollis case. Astonishingly, someone had discarded all the case files. When the media caught wind of this discovery, it caused a stir in town. However, the incident was soon downplayed, dismissing it as a mistake of an inexperienced janitor who unintentionally disposed of the materials. Afterward, Paul was never formally accused of involvement in his wife's disappearance. However, his life took a downturn in the 2000s. He faced 2 prison terms for drug possession and robbery, and he is currently serving his third sentence, this time for fraud. In my personal opinion on this case, I incline towards the possibility that Paul played a role in his wife's demise, and his family may have aided in covering up the crime. The motive could have been triggered by Paul learning of Charlotte's intention to divorce him, a plan he was not willing to accept. While other possibilities such as kidnapping or escape cannot be entirely ruled out, they lack substantial credibility. Unfortunately, the resolution of this case seems unlikely. Nevertheless, Charlotte's family continues to hold out hope for justice, with a steadfast belief that Paul is culpable. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video, and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.